Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. I hope you all are well. It is a beautiful morning out here in southwestern Utah. Perfect time to go for a ride on my KLR 650. So I'm gonna head up into the hills for a bit for a nice little demonstration video. That's right, folks. I have recently purchased a device that I think will be extremely beneficial, especially while I'm riding the KLR 650. So hang in there, we're almost to our destination. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It helps us out tremendously. Thank you very much for watching. Let's get on with it then, shall we? Oh boy, is that a view. I think this is a good spot to do the demonstration. So it should go without saying, I really enjoy my KLR 650. I think it's a great motorcycle. I like to ride alone. So one of the things that I think about when I'm on the KLR 650 is what I'm actually riding in, because if I am alone and the bike goes down, if you're not familiar with a KLR 650, these things are pretty big bikes. My bike, I think this is the 2022 model, or a Gen 3. I think this comes in at 450 pounds, maybe a little more, in its stock form. So once you add on all the armor and everything else you put on the bike, and that goes from everything, and you go out on a solo moto camping trip on this, it is a beast. Like, we're pushing well over 500 pounds. And the first thing I did when I bought a KLR 650 is I taught myself how to pick the bike up. You see, I figured if I couldn't pick the bike up, then I don't really have any business riding the bike way out into the middle of nowhere, because inevitably I was going to drop the bike, if not crash it. And if I can't get the bike up, well, game over. So if you don't know, I like to do a sport called canyoneering. In this sport, it's essentially the technical descent of canyons. It's pretty self-explanatory. To do that, you have to descend ropes or rappel down canyons, and there you have it. There's a lot more involved, but that's kind of the basics of the sport. In that sport, and also in climbing, and other things, there's a term we use, and it's called self-rescue. So in canyoneering, I went through some training, and you're descending canyons on ropes. You better be able to get back up that rope, because there's going to be times where you stick a rope, you can't go any farther, and you have to go back up. You name the variable. What I'm just trying to get at is you have to self-rescue. You have to learn how to self-rescue. You have to learn how to pull yourself up a rope with the use of devices, prusiks, things of this nature, to self-rescue. So there is a device that I recently purchased that I could term, or it would fit under the term of self-rescue when it comes to the dual sport motorcycle riding. And I've been thinking about things or objects or any devices that I could use to help with a self-rescue while I'm on the KLR, in the event that I crash and can't pick the bike up. One of the things I thought about was a it's like a pulley system. We use it in canyoneering. It's how you would essentially pull a person up from a canyon if they're injured. And it requires some pulleys and a device that binds the rope. The rope will pass through and it binds it so it doesn't go back through. And I thought about, well, I could probably build something like that to drag a motorcycle, say, out of a ditch or a wash or any of these things. However, the caveat of all that is you have to have some place to anchor the system, you know? And a lot of the places I ride, especially on the desert, there's nothing to anchor to in order to pull the bike or essentially lift the bike. So that led me to this device. So before I get into the demonstration, I want to just talk about a couple of experiences I recently had while out motorcycle riding. First was most recent crash I got involved in, and that left me with broken ribs on my left side. I'm still dealing with that 3 months later. And immediately after the crash, I was on the lightest bike I own, which is the Yamaha XT250. That bike weighs about 290 pounds. I didn't have much gear on the bike. It was pretty light. So let's just say under 300 pounds. And immediately after the crash, not only did I break my ribs, I also injured my elbow. Was swollen up. I'd injured my elbow, my shoulder, and I couldn't pick the bike up at all. I couldn't budge it. And luckily, a man was riding in his Jeep coming in my direction pretty much right after I crashed. So he got out, made sure I was okay. I thought I was, or well enough to deal with my situation, but I still couldn't lift the motorcycle. And he helped me get that bike up and out of the road, because it was just out there in the middle of the road, you know? So that's one thing to take into consideration. And it doesn't take much. Just look around. You ride out anything, you come off the bike onto a rock and you just hit it wrong. You don't have to be riding fast. You land on your ribs, they're broken. You're not lifting a 500-pound motorcycle. You're just not doing it. If you're by yourself, you need to take that in consideration, especially if you're out in this. Secondly, another ride I went on this past winter out in the Nevada desert, I was also on a light bike, which was my Honda CRF 300L. That weighs 309 pounds. Granted, I had more gear on this bike because of the type of ride I was doing. I was way out there, so I had tools, extra clothing, first aid kit, I mean, all this stuff, so that obviously added weight. But I got into a ride that I ended up dropping the bike and having to pick it up probably close to 20 times. And it was a nightmare. And as I got deeper and deeper into the desert on the track I was heading, and I just got into all this crazy terrain that I kept dropping the bike in, and I was already weak because I had been sick for the week prior to this. And I wasn't eating too well. I was out, so I didn't get the calories. But I got to a point where I didn't think I was going to be able to pick the bike up anymore. And we're just talking, this bike's just a little over 300 pounds. Let's just say 350 pounds with all the gear. And I just got to a point where after so many times of dealing with the bike and picking it up and in awkward angles that I was at the edge or over the edge of exhaustion, and I didn't know if I could get the bike up again. I did, and I got out of there, but if I had been on the KLR, no way. The bike would have sat out in the desert, and I would have crawled or walked out to civilization. So all these things happen on light bikes. Now let's look at my KLR, which is easily over 500 pounds with gear. I don't always ride with a partner. So that led me to a product by Eastbound Motorcycle Winch. So the first thing to consider if you decide to get one of these, and I should just say I purchased this full retail, is where you put it on your bike. Don't stick it on a pannier or down the side. It needs to be accessible on the tail or somewhere up front here. It's not very big, so I'll take this off in a second just to show you how big it is. And it's not very heavy. When you consider the weight of the bike already, you know, a few extra pounds, I don't even care about that. So it's not going to get in the way of anything really. And I just have it strapped here just for the ease of access. But that's one thing to consider if you carry this, is where to place it on the bike, because you just don't know which side the bike's going to go down on. Nothing tricky here. Just a couple bungee cords and then another cord I ran through it. And it comes off really easy. Just like that. So So as you can see, this thing isn't much bigger than my front fender bag. Though it's not big. It's a little bulky and heavy, but I mean, honestly, it really doesn't take up that much room. I can put it on top of anything with my bags. I can strap it. It's got 2 Velcro systems here, and then the top, of course, is Velcroed. The bag, I think, could probably use a little work as far as it's really thick like canvas material. So I mean, I think it'll last a while, but it'd be nice there like some really heavy duty grommets or anything that you could tie down stuff with. But you know, I'm not here to talk about the bag, but just little things I noticed that I think about strapping it down. So beyond that, everything fits inside the bag. Once you pull it out, you can get it back in. That's not a problem. So there's a look inside for the contents, and like I said, this is from Eastbound, and this company is out, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's from the Netherlands. That's where it's shipped from. Speaking of the shipping, the minute I ordered this, it was out the door the next day. I had it within 5 days. From the Netherlands all the way to Utah. I mean, they're on it. All right, so I'm just gonna get the contents of the bag out so we can have a look at it. It's really not that complicated. I spent a couple hours yesterday making sure I knew how to work this thing. You want to kind of do a little practicing in a controlled environment before you take off, just so you understand how it works. And like I said, it's really not that complicated. All right, so that's everything out of the bag. I'm just going to put that over there. Just put a rock on that so it doesn't blow away. And this is all the contents. Right there. This is actually my own edition here, and I'll talk about that in a second. You can opt to buy an additional foot plate here, and then this hook. They're only a few dollars more, so I just went ahead and bought them. As far as the cost of the whole thing, it's listed in euros, but it'll switch in dollars. I think I paid with shipping $230, and yeah, okay, yeah, it was about $230 for everything shipped. So also included is directions, and there's also there's some O-rings right there, rubber O-rings, which you can see where those would go. So they give you a few of those. So you've got your everything that connects to make the stand, and then you've got your strap, a ratchet. Let me tell you, I hate ratchets. I hate using ratchets, but this is it works and it's simple enough. But I was a little skeptical about it until I spent, like I said, a couple hours yesterday picking up the KLR with this device, and it works really well. So assembling is pretty easy. Like I said, it comes with some easy to understand instructions. There's also a few videos out, so that makes it easier to understand. But it's not too terribly complicated. And that's it. There you have it. So this is actually just a cut piece of boat strap, and I just tied a loop at an end like that, and this is for the front brake. So I keep this with the pouch because you're going to want to have the front brake engaged. So just anything will work. You can use the bag that the device comes in to do this. You can use some 550 paracord, a shoelace, a t-shirt, you know, whatever. But you want to make sure that the front brake is engaged and not slipping. And having something else stuck in the bag for this, like this, will deal with that. All right, front brake is engaged. That means that front wheel's not going to roll around at all. Whatever side the bike goes down on, let's just say if it's the left side, then you can put the strap here. However, if it's on the right side, you're gonna have to place, and you have hand guards, you need to put that strap on the hand guard and not the throttle, because according to the directions, you could damage the throttle mechanism. So make sure you put the strap on the actual hand guard, like out here like this. And do yourself a favor, like I mentioned, take an hour or so, mess around with it in your yard, in your garage, or wherever you have space to lay the bike down, and practice picking the bike up a few times with the device before you head out into wherever it is you go and have to do it out in the wild. There you go, easy peasy. So one thing I'll point out, depending on whatever bike you ride, your luggage may actually help if the bike's laid down. So this is actually laying pretty flat. There's nothing, I think the only thing in that pannier bag is just my first aid kit. And but if I got it full of stuff, I mean, the bike's still going to be raised up a little higher. However, I've got all that extra weight on the back. There is filled with tools and tubes and all that stuff. Everything just adds extra weight, so you need to take that into consideration. Some bikes, if you don't have any of this stuff on it, it's flat on the ground. It is really difficult to get a big bike up like that, you know. And it's not just, if you look, I'm actually in fairly level area here, but a lot of times you're going to lay a bike down in some really awkward positions where the bike's, I mean, so you need to take all these things into consideration. And having this device just really is a little peace of mind, and peace of mind is worth it's worth everything to me. All right, let's unroll the strap. At the end of the strap, on one end, you've got this heavily stitched loop. That's what you're going to girth hitch to your handlebar. This is the left side of the bike, so I don't have to worry about the throttle. So I'm just going to place the loop through like this. Set a girth hitch, tighten that down, and good to go. So the one thing I'm still kind of getting a feel for is the orientation of the stand and where to put it. The directions say to put it pretty close to the tank between the handlebar, if I recall correctly, but I'm just kind of messing around. And to be honest with you, I don't have to lift the bike when it's on level ground like this. I don't have to lift this thing all the way up. I just need to get it up about halfway, and then I can just easily grab it and pick it the rest of the way up. So that's essentially my thinking. However, if I'm injured, broken ribs here, I can get the bike up almost all the way. Yeah. So the stand may look a little flimsy, but it's made with heavy duty aluminum, apparently. I think this will be more than enough to deal with a heavy bike. And when you assemble it, you want the handle, the ratchet, facing down. So the pulley is on the top, and you go down, the handle's down, because you're going to have to ratchet it. All right, so we get that set up really easy. And then we're just going to strap through the pulley. Doing this one-handed, so bear with me, please. And then feed the strap to the ratchet. So I just pull this back through once I make sure it has lined up, and you want to feed about 2 inches through. That's what the directions say, and I have to agree that that makes sense. Once you've got a couple inches through like that, you can begin ratcheting to where it catches. So this isn't a speed contest. You want to keep an eye on this and make sure that the strap doesn't bind off into the side there. Now, use your foot. Once you get the strap tightened, this is when the magic happens. So you can take your foot, place it down, secure the stand. Here we go. Oh, one other thing. You want to make sure that your your handlebar is turned all the way in, your tire's all the way into the ground, because it's going to pull it. So we'll try it right here. This looks good. Oh, would you look at that? Move that out the way there. So you don't have to like, you can just do one ratchet at one at a time, one click at a time. Easy peasy. There we go. 550 pounds coming up, baby. Want to go faster? You go faster. So I've still got quite a bit of strap left to ratchet through, and you can see how much of the bike is now off the ground. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, we'll just keep going, shall we? Once you get to a certain point, this can pretty much take care of itself, but it's still probably a good idea to keep a boot there, keep your foot. And you may want to mess around with this, with the stand, orienting it. You know, this is all just something you have to play with to get it correct, or, you know, good enough for you. So at this point, I can deal with the motorcycle. You know, I can just get right here. I'm already in. And get it right up. So once you're done with the ratcheting, you just push the handle all the way forward. There's this little thing here. Just pull that out all the way forward towards the top. That's how you remove your strap. Just like that. Boom. Right through the pulley. You're done. Pull everything apart, put it back in the bag, put it back on the bike, and off you go. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again in real time. The jack is already assembled. It literally takes 20 seconds to put the jack together. So here we go. Bear in mind, I've already got that front brake dealt with. Tight. Orient the strap. Through the pulley. Feed the strap. I can pull the strap back through after it's oriented, just to make sure. 2 inches through the ratchet, through the binder, I guess. Hope my words are correct. Here we go. All right. Sometimes it takes more than one try. Keep your strap oriented correctly. Looking good. Tighten down. Go. Enough for me, and we're done. Ta-da! Bueno! And there it is, disassembled, ready to go back in the bag. There you have it. Everything's back in the bag. Everything fits back in the bag. That's a big deal to me. So on the bag, there's a little loop right here stitched in, so you can run something through that and then strap it down. So Like I said, the bag's pretty burly, velcroed. I wish this could actually like fold down then clasp, because I worry about those small pieces maybe falling out, but I mean, that's just me being OCD. Other than that, you can easily tie this down, maybe a grommet here or there. That would be pretty cool, but you know, just little things. Other than that, this is a really practical device, and I think it's great. So another piece of kit, you know what I'm saying, to self-rescue if need be. And another reason, I'll bring this up real quickly, why to keep this easily accessible, whether it's on a handlebar or close by on your tail or back here, is if the motorcycle does go down, you can trap you underneath it, trap your leg, and you're gonna have to you can assemble this while you're laying there and winch it up and get the bike out of you so you can escape the bike. I mean, think about that. Yeah, strap down, ready to roll. There you have it. Eastbound Moto Winch, bacon saver, self-rescue. Folks, thank you very much for watching. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It helps us out tremendously. Please stay safe out there, folks. We will see you next time. Lots more content on the way. D-Rock out. Adios.